Yeah, I can believe it. Okay, good evening. Good evening to everyone. How are you tonight? Welcome to tonight's show, our discussions from the other hood. And the subject that we have is how much is that bridge? And we will be back to that in a moment. I'm Cranston Burney, and here with Sonia James. And we will be rejoined by our normal host, Ms. Flynn, shortly. But in the meantime, we're going to get started with our usual opening, which is the weather for the last week, and especially for the holiday. And so, Ms. James, how was your weather?
The weather was cold and wet for Thanksgiving, but now it's just cold.
Mm.
It rained on and off all Thanksgiving, and it was threatening snow flurries. Well, we may get them tonight. It's right now. I'm looking down at the thing. It says it's 25, feels like 13,
Okay.
and it's not
Uh,
supposed to get much, much more colder. And then it gets up to a balmy 35 tomorrow.
I listen to your weather every time you give it. It always seems it's like cold or something,
Yeah.
and I always wondered. I know, and one of the things here today is the November 30th, which is the official end of the hurricane season. And I imagine people look at hurricanes and storms and wonder why those people live there and everything. But I'm thinking about whenever I hear this cold weather, I always say, well, did people settle there because like the horses died and they just couldn't go any further or what?
Well, I know that this part of New York was part of the Underground Railroad, so they probably went, okay, that's just as far as we're going to go before it gets too cold. Because in
Yeah.
Canada it's already snowing and all of that up in Canada. So,
Yeah, I guess you just love it for whatever reason, but my mind just kind of shuts down, especially the weather here was we're kind of making up for it now. But Thanksgiving, it was the temperature got up to 82, and that wasn't even a record.
yeah.
And so it was good. The next day it got cooler, and right now it's like 48 degrees, and you can make it. You can make it if you have your head covered and a nice warm jacket or sweater and everything, but and also they don't recommend you swimming in this weather and stuff, but everything else is pretty good. So
Yeah, we're not even going to get close to that anymore.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
tomorrow is is meteorological winter, where the planets and all that think it's already winter, even though our
mhm.
calendar doesn't say it is.
Yeah. It's crazy. The only good thing is that of late I haven't heard. You don't hear anybody saying that global warming is a hoax anymore.
Yeah, but we're just not responsible for it, so we're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so while we're waiting for everybody else to come and join us, we're going to, I guess, get started with a little bit about tonight's subject, which is how much is that bridge? Meaning, you want me to buy that? And the idea is generally about, there are different names for it. There's probably the most famous one is jumping the shark. Added to it was riding the fridge from Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, in which he survived a nuclear explosion by getting into an old 1950s lead lined refrigerator and came out with no damages, even being blown like hundreds of feet in the air, hit by all of the thermal and shock effects from the nuclear blast. And the only thing they did was they scrubbed him down afterward and everything. And of course, the jumping the shark was from the initial thing. And I think I saw this. I was not really a Happy Days fan, but I'd heard about Fonzie was going to jump over a shark for a
Yeah,
charity fundraising event, even though either he couldn't swim or there's something about sharks. I don't know what was the
and he
danger
did.
for
Yeah,
it.
did it, and in his leather jacket.
in his leather jacket wearing a bathing suit.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that made you think about, at some point, somebody said, are we really going to do this, or something like that? And so in different ways, some of our favorite entertainments have jumped the shark somewhere along the way. And so we're just going to discuss which books, um, comics, music, whatever it is that has gone on a little bit too far, or they ask us to, Venmo them something about that, about the about that, where they're asking us to suspend our disbelief a little bit too much.
Okay.
And so would you? Is there something you can think of that jumps the shark, or I can rattle on until you know?
I couldn't think of any immediately, so I turned to my favorite search engine to see what it said.
Mm-hmm.
And here's some of the ones that gave me first. Of course, Happy Days, which is the quintessential jumping the shark moment. The Walking Dead, Dallas, Prison Break, and The Office after Stephen Carell's character left. And then
So
says,
what part of those things are they saying we're jumping the shark though?
okay, hold on. Let's see. I'm reread it. The show, The Walking Dead. The show.
They went on too long. They went on too long. Okay.
This was more where even their fandoms start to go, I don't think so. This is what they consider of losing its way. The Walking Dead for the Negan and all the subsequent iterations of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas, when it revealed that the entire previous season was just a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Prison Break, after they broke out, there wasn't much charm because the whole thing was watching them breaking out of prison. And The Office, after Stephen Carell's character left, that some of the snark that was made the show popular was gone. I'm adding Lost. After the writer's strike, they kind of, I don't think that one pre-planned what it was going, its end game. So, some shows can plan their end game and stick the landing. I'm not too sure Lost did.
I don't know, because I went to the auction in LA, and some of the people who were, I guess, some of the writers, from Lost. And what they were saying was that when they started out Lost and they were doing the thing, they really didn't know what they were doing, where they were going with it. So after it passed, seasons, that you know what, they better kind of figure out what the heck is going on in this show. So I think it's more the fact that they started out not knowing that, at the end, just trying to okay, we got to figure out now, what does this mean? Because we just start out with kind of a mysterious, situation, not quite knowing where it was going to go, but now it caught on. Now we got to actually fix it.
Well, that's one of the things that people don't realize, because you think once the show gets on the air that they knew what they were going to do from the beginning, but a lot of times, no, they're making it up as they go along.
Yeah,
they don't know what's going to work. And I think what had happened after a while, a lot of the things that happened with Lost became apparent. Now, they did one thing that would have been a jump in the shark moment, but I thought it was actually kind of gutsy, is at one point they discovered there was a nuclear bomb on the island. What the bomb was supposed to do other than be a nuclear bomb, I don't know. But when they detonated the bomb, it made it a reset. So they just started a lot of things over again and just kind of retconned everything else out, which was a pretty cool way to kind of get around it and not do it. But there are a lot of things that they did not figure out. Biggest one they didn't figure out was at some point they decided that everything that happened after up to season 4 or 5 or something like that happened within 90 days after the plane crash. And one of the things they didn't count on was the fact that children do tend to grow up. And Walt had grown, I think it was the name Walt, got, well, all of a sudden puberty hit, his voice changed and everything, and he was more than 90 days older. So what they did was he just disappeared. He was, I think, kidnapped by pirates or something.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah. And they said, okay. And then, and then nobody mentioned him again. It wasn't like, he disappeared with, I guess, the smoke monster and the polar bear that was wandering around. So that was, that was something that didn't get quite thought out the way they thought it would. But they began, I think the showrunners decided that because we had done so many crazy things, like, I forget, can't think of his name. Terry O'Quinn's character, when the plane originally crashed, he was partially paralyzed, but now he can walk, and they never explained why that happened or something. That the audience, they felt, was so used to just crazy things happening out of thin air that you can get away with anything and don't explain it. So
yeah, that's kind of messed up. Okay, so that's I watched like the beginning of Lost. I did not follow all the way through. I know that Otto watched I think all of Walking Dead, almost all of Walking Dead. I mean, I think I left season 6 or something like that. I don't know, but he continued to watch it. So because basically he had bought in so much, might as well, stay in for the whole thing. So I don't know if he has anything to say about when too much, when enough was too much, with regard to that.
The one of the things I think that and this is how everything had changed. It went from being a water cooler discussion to internet discussion, and that's what happened. There was another show that I think kind of jumped the shark along the way, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing about The Walking Dead was because it was based on a graphic novel, and they were following along with it. People would then they weren't speculating about what they were going to do, but when were they going to do what was in the in the novel. And so they're trying to drag it out and stuff, build up suspense, whatever. But there are people who already knew what was going to happen are always writing about it and everything. And so that kind of killed it. And it was also another case what happened for another show that kind of jumped the shark about midway through what happened. And it was one of my favorite shows. If it's a show that you don't like and they jump the shark, you kind of enjoy it and it's kind of gleeful. But if it's a show that you liked and they did it, it's kind of painful. And one of them was Westworld. That the first 2 seasons were absolutely brilliant. They were great. They were suspenseful. It was good to see what was going on. But it had such an active fan base that was speculating on what was going on so much. It turned out that people, just by the number of people responding, were beginning to guess what they were going to do anyway. So if everybody's decided this is what you're going to do, then you can't surprise them anymore. So now they had to go and change whatever they were going to do in order to surprise the audience. And that did not always work out.
Which I think is kind of silly, because I think you should just go ahead and do what you're going to do. I don't think, as a watcher of the show, I wouldn't have a problem if it followed whatever the path was that one of the other fans had said that it would take. It wouldn't bother me at all. So I don't understand why it didn't do it. I don't need to be surprised. I don't mind watching and saying, yeah, it was exactly as I thought. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, it was either the case of, and this happens with showrunners and actors and whoever else, is you begin to buy your own hype. And since there were so many things they did so well that truly shocked people, and part of the thing was the discovery. Like, I don't know how long I've been watching the show before I noticed when they would change the aspect ratio of the frame on the screen, and you could tell that's when it was either inside of a dream or happening in the past, or it was something else like that. And that was a big, exciting discovery when I finally figured that out. So maybe they were trying to recapture that, and they said, well, we're going to just do this to surprise them. And after a while, it began to get so tangled until you really didn't know why these things were happening to some of the characters. And it would be for like shock value, but you didn't know. Like when William's daughter was killed for no reason and stuff. I mean, it was shock value, but it was kind of like Hitchcock's thing about, if you have some people in a room sitting around talking, the bomb goes off, you shock the audience, but you didn't build up any kind of suspense. But if you watch somebody set the bomb and set the timer and people walking around not knowing it, and you're waiting for them to either, like leave or something like that, that builds up suspense. It was a shock, it was a jump scare type of thing, and then it got totally convoluted. And by the end of the fourth season, when it seemed like they're on the verge of resetting everything, and in the first one of those things says, "What money? We don't have to worry about this money." They canceled it. There was no vindication. There was nothing for the people to look down on, and you were hoping, well, maybe if it comes back for one more year, they can get back on track. But now we will never know, and we're not really sure what happened at the end of the fourth season. Was it the end of the world? Was it you just didn't know what was going on and stuff. So
well, sometimes they have to change what they plan to do, because depending on the timing, the person can say, well, see, I recommended that, and or they saw my idea and that's why they did it, so now they owe me money. So there's a lot, depending on the timing. If it was something that they had already shot long in advance, they could prove, well, we shot this like a year ago, so you were just being good at deducing what we were going to do. But if they hadn't quite shot it yet, the person could always come back and say, see, they took my idea. Which is why so many showrunners and writers staffs don't go on the internet as much. Yeah,
and don't read those comments.
Right.
Well, I know Star Trek in general had a policy for a long time that they would accept what they used to call over the transom scripts. And that's boys and girls back in the days before air conditioning. They had transoms, which were like windows in the top of offices to let air in, because you had no air conditioning. And so people who couldn't get it, who would just come in like at night and throw their manuscripts through the transom. And sometimes they would read it and they would print it, sometimes they wouldn't. So they had a policy of accepting unsolicited scripts. And if they thought they were good, they would go ahead and put them in production. Most of the times that worked, but there were at least two instances where they did that, and somebody who had submitted an unsolicited manuscript said they had stolen their idea. So they had to literally film essentially a second version of a show they'd already done, just to satisfy that claim that they had borrowed their idea. So that's one reason why, as you said, that you might scrap everything, because you don't want to have to pay residuals to somebody for something that they looked up on and guessed about. But
yeah, some of those fans back in the Star Trek days actually became writer staff. Yeah, so that was the good thing, and they did give really good critique back.
Yeah, but sometimes you can't, you just can't do it, because everybody wants to sue somebody for something, for whatever else and everything. Now, another show that I felt jumped the shark, and again, this is one of my favorite shows. I still like it, and although, and as it went on and on, I think they finally officially ended after 9 seasons, and they came back and did those other 2 seasons. Then they did 2 movies while the series was still going on, or something else. And it really hurts when it's a show that you like and they jumped the shark. And the thing was, they'd actually been tiptoeing with the shark the whole time, and that was the X-Files. They had the 2 main stories. Again, it was something where you think that, we know what we're doing, but you're just making it up as you go along. And so it eventually came down. They had two narratives going on at the same time. There was the Monster of the Week narrative, which did some really great shows and everything along the way. And then there was the alien invasion conspiracy art that was going on too. So they would do like several standalone Monster of the Week shows and stuff. Then they would do 2 or 3 alien whatever was going on show and stuff like that. The good thing about it was I think William Davis, who had started out as the unnamed cigarette smoking man who was just a character standing around, but he became a regular after that and everything that picked up. They brought other characters up that did this, that, and the other. And it was always, they'd be on the verge of doing something, but Mulder knows too much. We need to stop him. No, but if we stop him, that makes him a martyr. So we'll keep it going and everything. And you can only do that so many times. And it got to the point that there were so many mythologies and other things going on, it was hard to keep track. You know, there was Scully had the implant, then Mulder disappears, then Scully disappears, then Scully's back and Mulder's back. And then, you know, they almost have, they had the alien bounty hunter and you had this and that going on and stuff, you know. So by the time, I think, I'm not sure exactly why, the company left after season 8, 7, but then they brought in, and they were not bad characters, and I liked both of the actors and the characters they played, but they brought in Robert Patrick and can't think of the other actor's name who served as the new Mulder and Scully. And took over the X-Files. And then after that, Gillian Anderson had left for a while, then she came back. So then you had 3 people on the X-Files. And then in the 9th season, the Covenant came back and they didn't know, well, where these people go or what's going on or whatever and stuff. So, but they had been tiptoeing around the shark throughout the entire series because every week was a reset. Because it was always, and the thing was, you had to ask yourself, okay, in real life, with all the stuff that she had seen or been part of, even if she was a skeptic and rational and didn't believe in it, you'd have to think at some point, Scully would have to say, well, yeah, some of this stuff may be true after all. You know, but they did that. Every week was a reset, but they were going where they were. Nothing ever picked up. Things that where they were going to discover at the last second were thwarted or whatever like that. So, and then after season 7, they should have said, okay, we need to wrap things up and we'll just go off into the sunset. But those last 2 years were just a total grab bag of either redoing things they'd done before or things that looked promising or just, you know, sleight of hand tricks. You know, I'm doing the magic in this hand while I'm keeping you busy over here, and it just didn't work out.
I know a show that kind of runs along those same lines is Fringe, which I absolutely loved when it first came out.
Yeah.
But there's a point within the show that it stopped being Olivia's show and became Peter Bishop's show. So that's when they went, you know, a bridge too far for my taste.
Yeah.
That you know, it started to become more about him and his relationship with Walter and etc. instead of about her, because that's what the show originally was about, you know, from her perspective. And then when they got down to like the last show at the end of the season where they started they just used all these like a recap of every show that they had already had, you know, all the different things that happened. They kind of threw them all into that last show. I thought it's so schlocky. I mean, you know, but I mean, when they started making it to the Peter Bishop show, that's when I had, you know, problems with it. I stayed with it. And I mean, in fact, I think we watched it all the way to the end, but that final show or 2, I guess it was just schlock. Just schlock.
Yeah. Well, that I think they did. That was the equivalent of doing a clip show. You know, you said, well, we don't have enough money to do a new series, so we'll just throw all this together. And I think the worst thing about it is when you do that, you are abusing the loyalty that the viewers gave you because they stuck with you through everything, and expecting you to do something that would be interesting rather than giving you a greatest hits show or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, but I did like the show. But yeah, at that point, I didn't like when they moved again, like this is from being Olivia's show to Peter's show.
Yeah.
Then at the end, it just kind of like they didn't know what to do with it. So that was, you know, that was a problem for me.
Well, I think it happens sometimes. They were saying when they were doing Enterprise that the people who were doing it, you had two things that were interfering with it. Is you had the studio who has never seemed to know what to do with the property, telling them, well, this is what you need to do. And they were literally kind of forcing the showrunners, who all admitted that they were burned out from doing the show and all wanted to leave, to come back and do it. So they were just throwing things out there and stuff. And it could be, and they were doing things to be different, like they said, okay, we're going to call this one just Enterprise and not Star Trek, because if we call the show Enterprise about people in an organization called Starfleet going into space, that'll fool the three people on the planet who don't know what Star Trek is and have never seen it before.
Oh, okay.
And to do things different, and although I have to admit, coming up front of stuff, that I don't exactly hate the theme song and everything, but they said, well, we'll do it different. We'll have them sing this song up here to be different.
I thought it was awful. I thought it was awful. Just awful. I just, there's a certain, I know, aesthetic, visual, oral aesthetic that we have when we think about the space program and we think about Star Trek. And that when he opened his mouth, or that was singing it, and started singing that song, we're like, what in the heck is going on here? Samuel, this is not Star Trek. What is this mess? So no, I mean, we were not pleased at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, unfortunately for all those people who like vocals out there, after that they never try to do that again. So we don't think we're going to get another theme song when it comes on. But
well, I mean, I remember once in Fringe, they had an episode. They started the show, and you go through Fringe at the beginning, and there's no talking. It is when the show comes on, it's music, and it's all visual. And then, like, they had this show, and some man is talking with, oh hell no, like all of that, oh hell no, what is this? Yeah. Just stop it right now. They never did it again. Never did it again. People just lost it. It's like, what is this garbage?
Yes. Sometimes there's an idea that for some reason, after it's too late to refilm it or rewrite it or whatever, or do pickups and stuff, the writers sit around and said, I didn't think that was going to work, but I didn't say anything at the time, but
but that did not work, and I was very happy that they stopped immediately. It did not work out at all.
Yeah.
I know it's not kind of like a jump the shark thing, going through the middle, that we get to the end and then now we, jump the shark. But, right there, even close to the beginning where people had gotten into a groove of this visual opening and somebody else then starts talking. Oh, no. We don't need you to recap with your voice. Please be quiet. We know what happened. You don't need to say anything. So that was one of mine.
Yeah, well, especially when you have somebody explaining something to people who should already know what was going on.
Exactly.
And you said, okay, it's the thing that I used to jokingly say that that would always bother me is you'd be watching the 8th episode of 24, and and somebody will come in after the halfway point on the station break and want to know what's going on, and you just want to slap them for that reason and stuff, So, okay. But again, for something now, they did. I don't know if you can say exactly that they jumped the shark especially toward the end, but there was a thing where you have to wonder, well, how many times can you save the world and everything,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if you look at something else, you might say, well, when exactly did it jump? Well, you could say they jumped the shark in the very first Mission Impossible movie, when they did the one thing that if you're a dedicated Mission Impossible fan and stuff, you found out that they turned Jim Phelps into a traitor.
Really? I did not like that at all.
I stopped watching that. That was it for me. I couldn't watch any of the other movies.
That was
and so at that point, you could say, yeah, they jumped the shark right about it. And the thing that really shocked me about that was that screenplay, well, the principal credit on that screenplay was Robert Towne, who gave us Chinatown. And then he goes from Chinatown to turning Jim Phelps into a traitor and stuff. Said, really, Mr. Towne,
he wants to have a surprise ending, like, with Chinatown, this shock ending. That's all. And I thought, wow, I did not like that at all. I just not at all.
Yeah, not like that. So that was it, And so, but if you look back at the fact that, and it's one of the stations they're showing a Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3. Forever and stuff like that. One of those things. Oh, it's on again. So in case you miss it when it came on at 9:30 in the morning, you can watch it at 2:30 when they're running it again. But you realize that first Mission Impossible movie came out in 1996, I think. So Tom Cruise has been saving the world for 30 years now. And so I have a thing.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, because there's supposed to be one more coming out. Yeah.
And so I have a thing with people my age saving the world. You look at there's this thing once I was watching. You want things that take you out of. You said, well, this is shark jumping if it takes you out of whatever it was. And I was watching an episode of NCIS New Orleans, right? And so they had this thing where the bad guy is getting away, and Scott Bakula, who I've always liked, Scott Bakula, and he's chasing down this bad guy, and they're running, I think, all the way through whatever county New Orleans is in. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, and he's running upstairs, and he's running here, and he's running there, and there's one point that this guy jumps 15 feet across these two buildings, and so Bakula backs up and he jumps across the building too. And so at that moment, I stopped and I typed in, how old is Scott Bakula? And at the time he was doing that, he was 62. And I'm thinking, and he's run up these stairs and down these stairs and all this kind of stuff without breaking a sweat, and he's not breathing hard. And maybe he's in absolutely fantastic shape. Yeah. But I have days and stuff when I get up and I said, okay, let me pull myself up or something like that. And so I'm I get tired of seeing senior citizens saving the world and stuff, Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's certain things that we seniors can do, but I don't think some of those things are a little bit unrealistic. You can share the screen with someone who's more physically inclined, with regard to that, those type of things. Although there may be some people can still do those things, and there are, but I think it is expecting a lot from the audience. And then again, it can take you out of the story, when you're sitting there, you had to stop and say, how old is Scott Bakula?
Yeah, I mean, if he had run a little bit and he got there this great thing they did on an episode of the Rockford Files once, where they had this thing where they were running, I don't know, for 20 minutes or something like that, and Rockford finally catches up with the guy and tackles him. and then they're both lying there on the ground, panting for breath and stuff. All they can do is just try to catch their breath and everything. That was realistic, and you can identify with that. But when you have, all these people, like I think Barnaby Jones probably was the first person to start it because he was like, like 90 or something like that, and they had him. I think he was doing something once. He was like swinging between two buildings on a ladder, and he scrambles up and stuff like that. He said, "Yeah, right,"
Mm-hmm. Yep. Stunt double.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I'm trying to think of any other ones. I knew there was another one after we were talking about Fringe. That there was another one in that mind that I thought of while I was discussing Fringe, and now, of course, I can't remember to save my life.
Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, Sleepy Hollow, absolutely. Ugh, absolutely jumped the shark. I mean, that didn't know when to quit.
Well,
when you have two characters that had great chemistry, and but when she left the show, that should have been the end of the show.
Yeah, that killed it for me. I actually stopped watching after that. I think I watched maybe 2 episodes to see, can they come back from this? And I said, no, they didn't, and that was it. So I have no idea how the series ended.
Mm-mm.
And
awful.
Yeah. I had a friend who was just about to. I was like, I got to watch the first season again so I can get ready to second, because came into the second late, and the friend went, "Don't bother.
Yep.
Just don't, no, because you're gonna get mad, and we can't afford to get you a new TV. Don't even bother." Because they knew how I would react.
It was so bad. I mean, but their buddy chemistry was so great. And they just didn't know what to do with it. Then they had to put the woman in who was his wife and bring her into the thing. And I remember reading an article that she was saying, "Do not put me in as a regular character," because she's like, it will destroy the chemistry of the show. And she knew that would. And she was just like, she knew, man, this is over. Just as long as I was there and I just kind of there and then back there and back, that's one thing. But then to try to, kind of shoehorn her in there as a regular, she just said she knew that was the end of it.
Yeah.
That was really the end of it. And then they would try this Betsy Ross thing to try that. That was just awful. Just terrible. Just terrible.
Then it had her sister.
Oh, their sister. That was terrible. And that guy who was a treasure hunter or something guy, and that was they got rid of him quick. And I mean, they just didn't know what to do. I think a lot of it, however, we have to just be honest. A lot of it is just straight up racism. That people were not ready for that thing to move into any other type of relationship. But I would have been glad to them just to stay like the buddy relationship that they had. I liked it a lot. They didn't have to go anywhere, into any close interpersonal relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend thing at all. They could have kept it at this really good buddy, snarky kind of relationship that I really liked. Because their personalities meshed well, their characters meshed well, and they just couldn't just let it go with that and just no, they aren't gonna date. They're gonna be boyfriend and girlfriend. They're gonna
stay. The other thing is that you say that apparently the people that do television don't watch other shows because going back a generation, and another thing that it worked, and then when they took it to the next level, it didn't, and all they had to do say, well, we're not going to do that because we saw what it did to that show, but that was moonlighting. Where it was, as long as it was the will they want there, whatever and stuff, it was good. Then they finally did it, and that was the point that most people said that, and I guess egos was the point that most people said the show kind of went away from them. So all you had to do is say, well, we're not going to do what they did, and then we'll be okay.
I would just continue, just going the way that we are, solving these things, dealing with this headless horseman stuff, and all this other insanity that is going on, and I mean, I just think it would have a much more fun show, but I just think they didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And also and especially in shows like that, when you start putting in too many mythologies, that's when it gets met, because then you can't keep them straight and you can't make it. Well, what world does this take place in? Is this the same world where this goes on and you can do this and that and the other?
Agree that you get these what do you call it, the collision of worlds thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's going on where. And I agree that too much. I mean, and a lot of times it happens. There's too many writers. And with that in mind, also Luke Cage. It was such a good show, the first season. And the second season, I just like, okay, it was really good. Then the second season, because it was good, now everybody wants to write on it. So everybody comes in, each person gets an episode, people directing or writing an episode. And it was just so hackneyed and patchwork and awful. And in the end, to have, Luke Cage, who's supposed to be, the
moral center.
Yes, take over. I don't understand that. It made no sense at all to me. And that's all we saw of it. I mean, we never got any more of Luke Cage really after that. They did Defenders, but Luke Cage the second came after that, and I don't know what they were thinking. It just was not good.
Well, you tell yourself that maybe if they had gone on for another season, midway through the season, he would have, said, "Sweet Christmas, why am I doing this?" and stuff, and he would have the redemption arc or something like that. But...
Or maybe we see that all along it was just a ploy, for me to get in the distributors and the traffickers, and kind of like
destroy from within.
Yeah, what is the like a Green Hornet kind of thing where you think they're an enemy, but they're actually the friends.
Well, there is a chance though. Those shows are still considered canon, and supposedly Marvel will pick up the story. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, we will see.
It's supposed to be a few years that he didn't get Thanos dusted. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of hoping, that what's her name, Ewing, who goes to sleep and finds out it's a dream, just wipe it all out and start fresh.
Yeah,
it was a horrible nightmare, that second Luke Cage film. We would wake up. Thank goodness.
Now, something that and this is something, and I have to admit, like this full disclosure and stuff, that I'm not a fan of this particular genre. So my opinion of it may be biased, but it's the whole thing of Christmas movies, especially all those Hallmark and whoever else Christmas movies. And that's because, and I know this because there's a friend of mine who absolutely loves these things. I mean, she, and so we talk about it and everything, and she has nothing with the problem that everyone is the same story. And there was one year that every story was about some member of some royal who had come to the States for some arbitrary reason, who meets what in his country would be called a commoner, and they end up falling in love, an hour and 20 minutes later. And the first thing I asked about it was, well, how much royalty is there in Europe still that they can have all these princes that are coming over here and everything, so.
Well, that's when they changed it to small town girls or slash boy goes back home. Big city girl slash boy goes back home, falls in love with the least likely person, and all is happy and well. So they're alternating. That's their formula. That's what they're known for. I think, was it Hallmark? Yeah, the one time Hallmark sort of varied is when big town boy falls in love with small town boy, and people raise their eyes and went, what? But it would turned out to be one of their more successful movies, just because it was different, even though it was following the same formula.
I saw that. I think I saw part of it and the beginning of it, and I'm just like, okay. In any other show program, the person that the individual is going to break up with them and to hook up with this person, that it's always going to be some local popular Anglo girl. And in this one, they made the black girl be the person that her boyfriend decides now that he's gay. I ain't like that shit at all. That any other time you would have an Anglo woman in these roles, you don't see a black face. But in this, they made certain to put a black face. And I did not like that at all. At all. So I don't know if other people looked at it and they didn't like it for whatever reason. That's the reason I didn't like it. Because in these Hallmark things where they have everybody within that community, as white as a piece of paper, they don't have a black person. But in this one, they made certain that the person that was jilted was a black woman, and I didn't like it. Nope.
Well,
since then, I was going to say, since then they have diversified their casting. So now there's several that are all black casts. I think they had an Asian one.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
They do all black cast or all Asian cast and sort of all white cast. But in this particular one, where everybody else, in the room is a white person, the person who gets jilted is the black woman. I didn't like it.
That means they jumped the shark. That was the shark jumping.
Well, I mean, for them it wasn't. They thought it was just fine.
No, to me,
like
I thought, yeah, but when shows jump the shark, they don't know they jumped the shark. I mean, the consumer knows when they jump the shark, and for people that watch that show, me included, that's when it jumped the shark. And I have, and not trying to be sexist or sound sexist, but the women in my office, they love the Hallmark movies. Mm-hmm. They really go for them. Mm-hmm. And they just go over and over and over them again until they get to that one. I'm really interested in that one. But that was shark jumping.
Yeah. We just like, nope. Just like, I mean, just no. And I just thought that it was to me it was offensive.
Well, either they thought they were being cutting edge, or it could have been just one of those.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be cutting edge, then how come they can't break up with the white woman then? Why is it the white woman jilted?
Well, now it's something that I would not watch at all, or something like that. But this is just going to say, well, maybe at the last minute, they decided we needed to diversify the cast, so they just stuck somebody in this part, and they didn't think past that.
No, what happened is that they create these Hallmark shows that the audience is predominantly white women, and white women were not gonna buy that shit. They were not going to buy that. They would have torn their screens, the glass on their monitors, whatever. They were not buying that. So that's why they did it, because they were not going to buy it. And understandably, I'm watching my Christmas show, which is my fantasy that I want these things to go well for. And they need to tell me ahead of time, trigger warning, girl, y'all gonna get done in this. So you want to turn to watch something else, because you are not going to like what's getting ready to happen to you. So, but that's what I think they did it. That's why I was like, I mean, because every now and then, I see one and I'll stop and I'll watch. I'm like, wait a minute. Only one sister girl in the entire show, and she's the one that gets the boot in the butt? No. Yeah. So for me, for all the sisters out there, that's some serious shark jumping on that. Just for watching the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mine. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that, for instance, for me, I liked Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Watched, I watched it all the way through pretty much. But for me, when they jumped the shark, and all these shows to me jump the shark, every show jumps the shark. We're walking along, minding our own business, doing our own thing. Then suddenly somebody's got to shoehorn a baby into the show. is the 100% shark jumping. Whenever they feel they have to put a baby into a show.
Our new cute face.
Yes. Yeah. Like when they
Younger, cuter
added,
face.
in Buffy, here's a sister. When they added, what's her name? Michelle Trachtenberg. Buffy's sister's like, why? Why? That is completely an unnecessary person. But,
That's the cousin Oliver effect for when Brady Bunch did it. When they
yes.
brought in Oliver, and then
Absolutely.
Different Strokes brought in Sam. Then
Who's
another
Sam?
Mr. Drummond got remarried and his wife had a son, and they brought in a cute little. Was it Danny Cooksey who played it? I can't remember who played it, but she had a son, and he was out cuting Arnold when
Okay.
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, I left the show by then.
They call that the cousin Oliver effect.
Yeah, get that. I mean, what is a duet? Remember the show? I don't know if y'all watched the show Duet, but great show, wonderful show. And then they decided that one of the main characters had to have a baby. And I didn't mind the fact that she had the baby. And if they had kept the show with the infant and had this main character, this driven woman executive, and her having to show how she deals with motherhood with an infant, it would have been a good show. But instead, from one season to the next, it goes from an infant to like a 5-year-old, where it's like, what the heck? Who is this? And so they bring in this little girl, Ginger, and just again, horrible, horrible, horrible. Whenever they do this, try to shoehorn a child into, especially an adult show.
Mm-hmm.
This was a show with adult themes, even though it's comedy. But having a child in it would just ruin it. What is his name? Jack Lemmon's son was, and I don't know if Chris Lemmon, was in the show. It's really good. I love the show, and they just destroyed it, bringing in again, a baby would have been fine, because that kind of shows how you have to evolve. But to go from no child to a baby, having a baby, and then the next season is like a 4-5-year-old. So wait a minute, what happened? All the interesting stuff is gone, and then they have to give all these little flippant lines, precocious lines, to a child, and that's always horrible, just always horrible. So yeah, that ruined that show for me.
Well, I think what it is when you don't have somebody in your writer's room, or somebody that has a real family, and you say, well, this doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah.
And you kind of back away from that or something,
but television isn't real life, is what they usually get the feedback back.
Mm.
We're not trying to pretend real life. We're trying to portray an entertainment.
Yeah, but people are not entertained by things that are stupid.
I know.
I mean, it has to have some.
I felt the same way with the Star Wars sequels. When Emperor Palpatine returned, what? That he was down and in the grave or the shaft and whatever, and you're bringing him back. Why?
So how did that happen?
And then you realize that they're just going to remake the first movies that our generation saw with a whole new cast, sort of.
What a mess.
And then what made me even madder is like, okay, y'all made a mess. You didn't use Carrie Fisher to the extent you should have used her, because she's the only one who kept the faith through all the movies. And then J.J. Abrams went, well, I guess we should have had a plan before we made the first movie. How do you walk into an established universe without a plan?
I don't know. I mean, ego, maybe? I don't know.
Well, I think it's what happens when you have enough clout that you can make your own fan fiction. And that's essentially what it comes down to and stuff. I'm just going to do this because I think it's cool. And you can't stop me, and people are going to come see it no matter what.
Right.
It's like they were saying that. Now I don't know about this last one, but they were saying that however much you did not like a lot of the Indiana Jones movies, right up until the last one, and I still haven't seen Dial of Destiny because I just said I don't know. But they said that all of them, even Crystal Skull, they all made over $1 billion because you could play on, you could tread on the loyalty of the fan base and everything. They'll go see it just because of what it is.
Hmm. Yeah, but also that, he continued to do the things that Indiana Jones does.
Yeah.
I didn't do. I mean, I thought the second one, the Temple of Doom, was garbage, but then the third one that came after that was good.
But that jumped the shark, though. That was a
Yeah,
jump.
yeah, the Temple of Doom was awful.
Race. It had all the elements of true Hollywood: racist, sexist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anti other religions, other than Christianity.
Now, to that point, that could be why, believe it or not, there are a number of people who say that of all the sequels, that's their favorite because it was darker and it was grittier and this, that, and the other and stuff. So it could be that it gave people an excuse to glorify or celebrate all the negative things that they wouldn't say normally or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also because the other ones are anti-Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them are anti-Nazi, and you know what? That's the
First
easiest.
Third.
That's the easiest villain.
Yeah.
The easiest villains in the world to be against.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be, yeah.
Still is.
On the one point, they kind of earned it. So, yeah, but it gets to be lazy after a while. Let's make them a Nazi or a secret Nazi or a former Nazi.
I'm going to tell you one of my favorite scenes in a film was when Eric Lyncher, Magneto, goes into Argentina to that bar and just lays waste. I could watch 2 hours of that.
Mm-hmm.
I could watch a film, only Eric Lyncher cutting a swath through Argentina. I could do that.
How about the opening of the Ark of the Covenant where the Nazi's head explodes? That's good too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good as well. They'll melt and stuff. Oh my God. It's like, leave stuff alone. How about that? Let's leave stuff alone. I don't know. It's anybody else got any, I know you were talking earlier, Cranston, about you've gone through a list, and I know you had, you actually went through a list, Sonia, about with some places that you thought that, the list said that they jumped the shark, but anything that you thought of your own, any more of your own that you thought jumped the shark?
I got way back, similar to Happy Days, when Laverne and Shirley moved to California. Because they were Milwaukee girls.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the story is they're Milwaukee girls. Why are you having them move to California?
Just like Nip Tuck when they moved from Miami to California. So what is the point?
Yeah.
They're Miami people. Stay in Miami where you belong. And that was the show was good coming out of Miami.
One of the fun things I used to like about Nip Tuck is that usually, I said, some shows you can make a drinking game out of them and get absolutely, and have to go into rehab afterward. Like if I watch Ancient Aliens, and every time they say Ancient Alien Theorists, like that's a real job or something like that. Is one, but I used to love on Nip and Tuck was somebody would come in with a botched surgery, and they would say it was some hack up in Jacksonville that did this. They gave Jacksonville plastic surgeons such a hard time. Now, true, we did have, and this is something that really happened. There was somebody who was advertising liposuction that they were doing. And from a hotel room out of the place near the airport, and they were actually showing up for the procedure and everything. So yeah, I can see where those are guys that they'd have to send them down there. The Nip Tuck guys, kind of do something
Yeah,
about that. And it is
yeah,
possible, yeah. So yeah.
I did the same thing whenever a show would say that they're taking place in Tallahassee. My favorite one was when it's supposed to be Tallahassee and they show mountains.
Yeah.
I know we have hills, but
Yeah,
not mountains.
mountains.
Or and it was or what was there was a Jackie Chan movie too that they showed the mountains of the Bronx.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, there may be high spots, but not in that particular place because that's a highway. Yeah, that's where the
Yeah.
highway is.
Yeah, things that are filmed in Canada that are supposed to be New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that this was wouldn't it be? Well, I guess in a way it would be constant shark jumping and stuff, and this was throughout the Law and Order franchises because you could tell when somebody was going to somehow sneak a weapon into the courthouse or on the courtroom steps. And one time somebody came in to the precinct with a gun and started shooting people. You can see that one coming and stuff. So, they said, don't they pat these people down? Or considering how heavy guns tend to be, if you see somebody walking in like this, you said, is that a 45 in your pocket or whatever? So.
But we tend to see those sort of things because we're really familiar with the areas. X-Files. When I stopped watching X-Files is when they kept saying, "Oh, the execution's happening in Tallahassee." No, they don't do the executions in Tallahassee. That's just lazy writing. You can look that one up.
Yeah. Or say, or you could go, shh, don't tell anybody and stuff.
Yeah. I was impressed. There was one show, and I cannot remember what it was. They were supposed to be going into a tattoo parlor in downtown Tallahassee. And I went, okay, person did their research because, yes, there was a parlor, and that intersection has a particular sound. And you could tell they sent a recordist to get the sound for that particular area. That I was impressed with that one time.
Yeah.
I cannot remember what show it was, but I was like, okay, there's some, just a little bit of research you can find these things out with. But I think it's the lazy research that, or lack thereof, that was like, you didn't even think enough of your show to do the research.
Well, another thing they do is when they're showing things that even if you don't live there, you kind of know, I don't think that's it, because they'll have the local police in such a place, and the uniforms don't look anything like the local police uniforms. The cars don't look anything like it or whatever. And then there was something they were doing with there was an episode of Criminal Minds that took place. It was supposed to take place in Jacksonville, and of course, with all the bad things going, and I think they do have police substations, but not like in New York where they have precincts and stuff like that. And it didn't look realistic. And of course, the thing to let you know, it's in Florida. They showed somewhere with an alligator walking across the yard. Now, in their defense, we do have cases of alligators and bears also looking for grease that people have left outside. Everybody fried their turkeys and they left the grease out. The bears will come along and get it. So that does kind of happen, but not quite like they like they show it like that. So
if it happens once, it's too much, right? Because I remember going into Jacksonville looking for a job. I was flown in for a job interview, and one of the stories that shocked the crap out of me was an alligator got some woman and dragged her into a pool. And I said, holy shit! One time.
But that would only happen if there was excessive rain.
I don't give a damn about the joke.
I know, but see, those of us who know that would go, but that's the extreme case. It's not like it's in every.
But it only has to happen once.
That's right. The shit was on the news, y'all.
But when it happens in a TV show and they show stuff like that happening almost every day, that's when
let me clue you in. Nobody knows what Jacksonville or Tallahassee looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like any town USA.
Well, there was something I think it was on Jeopardy. The lady they were she was in Mumbai, but they were having it stand in for Toronto. So they went to all the hotels to find all the visitors and made them extras. So Mumbai was sitting in for Toronto at the time because Toronto was sitting in for New York, and New York was someplace I can't remember what other was. So the chain of events that a California thing had to go all the way over to Mumbai to pretend to be Toronto, which had to pretend to be New York.
Too clean in Toronto. Way too clean. You know, I mean, where's the pools of piss and urine and stuff?
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's old New York. Is usually what
old
it's.
New York.
Yeah, it's usually old New York when Toronto sits in.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have to admit, the Star Trek one did have a nice. When they went back in time, they're all, like, this is New York City, and looked at, and because they were showing very Toronto things, and the guy says, no, it's Toronto, and they showed the sign that says, welcome to Toronto.
Yeah, it's Toronto, because the thing is, a lot of places in old New York look like places right now. They didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything. They're right there. I mean, Empire State Building looks like the Empire State Building. You know, the Whitney Museum looks like it. You know, it looks the same. It's the same building that it was in 1939.
Yeah.
Only the cars look different.
Yeah, that's true. You can look at the cars, and in fact, I remember someone was telling me years ago that that's a big deal. Like, we have things that are period pieces. Why they're hard to do is because you have to change the cars, the period cars.
The cars and the clothes.
Yeah,
the
but now
clothes.
So much stuff would be able to, do CGI and stuff. I think that would limit a lot of the costs. But even that, because it costs us, CGI costs so much. So,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're like about at a little bit after 9 our time, 10 your time. Yes, Cranston, you're going to close out the show.
Yeah. So, if we have any last comments about any shark jumping or near shark jumping or tiptoeing around wherever the shark is, because you said you almost made it over there and you didn't. That anybody can think of, or something that you think of that's on now that is headed towards. You can hear the Jaws theme playing and stuff once the show starts.
Well, I think Abbott Elementary may be heading that way.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Why so?
Because of that will they or won't they thing, which is so insipid, dynamic in every show where a man and a woman are in the show. It's just so stupid anyway. And the fact that they did, I think it's gonna lead to I think it's gonna be a thing.
Well, we'll see. I think they've handled it well. I think it's very cute. In that case, it's very cute.
Yeah, well, I thought the good thing, and this might be a spoiler if somebody hadn't seen it, where they were worried about the HR implications of what would happen, which is something that you would have to think about it, and that the resolution of that particular conundrum was kind of a surprise. It wasn't the usual sitcom something or whatever and stuff. So I thought they did it pretty well. So
I think that
which is legally right. I mean, basically HR doesn't care about people going out or marrying other people unless they report to someone or
that's right.
Superior, and then there's a conflict because it's setting up for some sort of harassment lawsuit or something else. But otherwise HR doesn't really give a damn. But a lot of times they want you to report it anyway if there's a romance in the workplace. Yeah. So I think they handled it right because they could have got it wrong. The staff, the teachers got it wrong, but the HR, they did their homework and they got it right.
They got it right. I thought.
But also, I thought it was good that the staff very quickly figured out, well, why are you doing this and why are you doing this? So this thing that you're trying to keep secret, some people are going to notice, somewhere along the way. So.
Yeah. Now, if it was the principal,
that would be different.
It's somebody who worked in a district, that's a problem. You know, if it was someone that was over your funding or something like that, that's a problem. But romance between equals is not an issue. You don't want people having, relations on the job. You want to not necessarily discourage it, but it's not optimal. But it's not a violation of policy.
Right.
But I thought Abel's reaction is that went to HR and didn't have anything to do with me, so that was good. I like that.
It wanted to have anything to do with me. It was okay. Yeah, I like this. I like it. But right. I'm hoping you're wrong. I'm hoping it does not go for sure.
Yeah, well, we will keep watching. Like I said, stay tuned. So that's it. Okay, so this was a lot of fun and stuff for those things and stuff. And of course, there'll be 5 things we'll think of after we get off the air and stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one and everything. But we will see. But this was a lot of fun, and so we hope that you all. Oh, the last thing on the weather I forgot to mention. For those of you who missed it, that here it was 82 for Thanksgiving. Although they didn't recommend you going in the water still, but it was a great day and everything for that.
But the alligators, right? Yeah.
No, but alligators are bundling down for the winter, so they're not walking across your front yard and stuff because But it's still rare enough that it always makes the news whenever a 6-foot alligator walked across this elementary school or something like that,
And that's a little one, right? A 6-foot alligator is a short alligator. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and I forgot where I was going with that, which is what happens when you get older.
Which is why you shouldn't chase the bad guys.
Yeah, but don't chase the bad guys for that and stuff. You say, why am I chasing you again? Okay, never mind.
Very good.
Before we sign off, I want to say happy birthday to my cousin, Tylene. Her birthday was Thursday, I think. It's all blurring together now. And my younger brother, Earl, and my high school best bud, Wanda, have their birthday coming up next week. So I wanted to say happy birthday to them all.
Cool. Well, this is happy birthday to Roman because today is Roman's birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday to you.
And also to our Penelope, our sister-in-law, it's birthday as well.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know.
Yeah, it's our birthday as well.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, also Oscar's birthday up in Canada, so happy birthday, Oscar.
Trifecta.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, super. Well, everybody, wonderful. So I'm done with my announcements.
So we hope that all of you will join us again and don't spend all of your money on false Black Friday deals. Okay, real quick. I was going to get this mouse, and they had at Office Depot. They have Office Depot up there, Office Max.
Yes.
In your parts of the country. And so I talked to this guy and asked him, did they have any in the back? And he says no, but truck will be in tonight. This was Wednesday, and we'll have some in. They'll be out here Friday. So we're talking about Office Max, big box office supply store. So I asked him, well, how many are you expecting to come in? And he said 5.
You gotta be kidding.
So
switch, man, bait and switch.
So he said, but I'll put one on my desk for you, and because I'll be here all day Friday, right? So I got there late Friday, and he was gone. But the other guy who says, well, I'm a manager too. I said, well, he was going to save this mouse for me, so and he was going to put it on his desk. But he goes back in the back and comes back out and says, I didn't see anything on his desk.
Oh well.
But as it happened,
I saw a mouse on his desk.
But as it happened, as I came in, I went to the display, and there was one in the display. And I was wondering, was that the one that was on his desk and somebody finally put it out? So I did manage to get it, but not the way it was supposed to be. And it was only one of 5 for a Black Friday sale. So whatever.
Wow, yeah, because bait and switch, man. That's how it is.
At Cranston, what kind of life are you leading? Were you looking for a discount mouse computer? What kind of,
it's a
going on
special.
with you,
It's a
man?
special enchanted one. Yeah,
What?
that's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Right, understood. Good. I'm glad you got it.
I got it. Yes. So I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go, please, everybody, like, like, share, and subscribe. Help help us keep this going.
Right. Okay, y'all.
And join us next week for another for more discussions from the other hood.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.